Hi, what's better today? You're listening to the Leadership Advantage podcast with me, Dr. John Kenworthy, and brought to you by Celsim.com. It's why some leaders thrive and others struggle. Hey there and welcome, this is John. And this week I'm looking at the two enemies to your success and how you're going to defeat them. Fear is the number one reason that people never achieve their breakthrough to success. Yes, we can blame other people for not giving us the chance. We can lament that we took the wrong course. We can express concern about the uncertainty of attaining success, and maybe, just maybe, I'll look stupid. In short, our fear comes down to two enemies. I face them, you face them. We've all faced them. It's our uncertain future and our excuses from the past. Or more simply, what if and if only. So let me tell you about what if and if only. See, when you've got any goal, any desire that's worth achieving, you will need to achieve breakthroughs. It's not simply going to happen without some breakthroughs. And breakthroughs that will take you outside of your comfort zone, and going outside of your comfort zone is fearful. What can you do to ensure that you create those necessary breakthroughs that will lead to your dramatic transformation, to the successful person that is inside, just waiting to come out? And we have to conquer these two enemies, what if and if only. And each of them requires you to do two things. Number one is take courage. And number two is get off your butt. Let's talk about courage and taking courage. Let me share with you a brief personal story. This place is known as the Swiss Wall. La Chavanette in Avoriaz is one of the most dangerous ski slopes in the world. It is disturbingly steep. It's a mogul run, and the slope gets icy very quickly, turning the area between moguls, these lumps in the snow, into ice sheets. And not making a turn in these situations means that you miss the next mogul, and you pick up far too much speed to make the next one after that, and it's starting off with a tumble that ends a couple of 100 metres down the slope whilst hitting a few dozen icy bumps on the course. Well, a number of years ago, a good number of years ago, as a reasonable but by no means a good skier, I decided that I just had to conquer this slope. Why? Well, I can only think now that it was a moment of sheer and utter madness. At the time, however, I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it, that I was man enough. Standing at the very top edge of the slope, I looked down this 40-degree steep icy hill with considerable fear. But it was mixed with trepidation, mixed with a bit of determination, and a whole lot of cortisol and adrenaline pumping through my body. I took about 5 minutes to muster up the courage to launch myself over the edge. And that's what I did. Launched myself over that edge. It was an exhausting, knee-jangling, hard, concentrated, deliberate series of movements, desperately remembering to keep my weight down the hill and my edges as loose as I dared, turn after turn after turn after turn, Around one mogul, push off, turn, shift weight, edge, again and again and again and again. Endorphins took over from the adrenaline to mask the pain in my legs and my screaming lungs. Finally, after what seemed an eternity, I arrived at the bottom of the slope, my legs like jelly, my heart racing, tears from the icy wind streaming down my face, and every fibre of my body was pulsing with electricity and sheer unbounded joy as the dopamine filled my entire being. I was alive. I'd done it. I hadn't fallen. I had conquered the wall. I hadn't been fast. It hadn't been pretty, but it had been me. Now, had I stopped at the top and let the fear fully take hold, I would never have pushed myself over the edge. That courage wouldn't have been enough if I'd allowed the fear to control me. And that fear is the number one issue when it comes to making a personal breakthrough. Fear is what you feel when your amygdala, that emotional centre of your brain, considers that there is a threat to you and signals the production of cortisol. Cortisol that floods your bloodstream and informs your heart to beat faster, your lungs to pump faster, your legs and arms to prepare to run or to fight. And since all of this demands energy, your digestive system is shut down and what you feel is warmer. You'll perspire more due to the energy in your muscles and faster heartbeat. You have butterflies in your stomach as the digestive tract is closed for business. And heck, who needs to digest food if you are about to be eaten? Only you're not about to be eaten. It's highly likely that you're not about to die, nor about to get injured. The amygdala response is a primitive and essential trigger for survival, but it is very poor at distinguishing between a real threat to life and limb and one that might possibly hurt your pride. It's the same cortisol-induced response. Your amygdala is essentially like that sentry guard, checking the external environment and your own thinking process for the slightest sign of threat to you. It's a trigger-happy sentry guard at that, shooting first and asking questions later. And every time you're thinking about stepping outside of your comfort zone, your amygdala is going, what if this? What if that? What if that? Now, here is the good news. You have a brain that is much more than your amygdala. You have a neocortex. You are intelligent and can consciously choose to think and choose to override your amygdala. There's a snag. The amygdala has already pulled the trigger on cortisol production. Then you think it's in a deliberate, conscious effort, one that you're perfectly capable of doing. I know this because I know that you've moved out of your warm bed today. That was a safe place. Comfortable too. The world outside, well, it's full of threats. You could get knocked down by a bus. A freak wind could come and blow your house away. You could be struck by lightning. All of these are possible, but you still got out of bed this morning, and that took courage. And you've been on a plane and flown somewhere? Of course you have. Do you know the pilot personally? I bet you didn't even see the pilot, and yet you trusted your very life to someone you don't know and haven't even seen. And you've been on board a metal tube filled with explosive fuel, travelling at 600 miles an hour, some 3 miles above the planet. You see, you take courage every day. Some days more than others. And well, if you can board a plane, you can get a personal breakthrough. Courage, after all, is doing something whilst fearful. And if what you're doing is not fearful, it ain't going to be a breakthrough. So everything is about taking courage, choosing to do this in spite of your fear. And when I went over that edge of that wall in Avoriaz, that's the bit of getting off your butt. And I'm not being rude here, okay? This is butt with a single T, B-U-T. I'm not referring to your backside. I mean, get off your excuses. This is your second breakthrough enemy. It's called if only. If only refers to yesterday, and more often than not, somebody else or something else that you don't control. If only the economy was better. If only my boss would recognise my hard work. If only the weather were warmer. If only I hadn't eaten that slice of cake. The variation of if only is the should family. I should have, he should, she should, they should. They should, if only they had. Same thing. The simple fact of the matter is this: there are things pertaining to your dreams and goals that you are not able to control. Life happens all the time. And you have made mistakes. Actually, I'd better check here. If there's anyone listening who hasn't ever made a single mistake, is there somebody out there who's perfect in every way? If there is, what are you doing listening to that? See, we all do things that we regret, things we should have done, things we should not have done, people we crossed, choices we made. These have happened. These are not excuses. These are opportunities to do something different from now on. In a recent podcast called How to Hack Motivation to Make You Happier, I shared that your happiness to your success is achieved when you are progressively moving towards the achievement of your goals that are beyond your current comfort zone, so that they stretch you. And your progress towards those breakthrough goals is what makes you happy. And today I've shared the fact that you have two main enemies to achieving those breakthroughs, called if only and what if, and how you take courage and get off your butt to choose to continue on in spite of your fear. So let me quickly help you identify where you might get stuck, or help you understand what you can do about this. Firstly, we need to acknowledge the facts. Yes, maybe you should have done something different, but you didn't. Simply acknowledge this is so. Even if this is someone else's perception, and their perception is wrong, in inverted commas, it is still their perception, and maybe they shouldn't have that perception, but they do. Harsh? Yeah, some of you may think this is too much, but they should really change, that it isn't you that needs to change, but them. But whether they do or not doesn't matter. Only you look after you. You may have disappointments or regrets about the past. Acknowledge them. Once we acknowledge the past, we can learn from it. Are there any patterns? What would you do differently now, knowing what did happen? Thirdly, we adjust our behaviour from now. Knowing that we had problems in the past, acknowledging that it didn't work, whether other people should or should not have understood is irrelevant. What matters is they didn't, therefore you need to change. Yeah, it is tough, isn't it? So what do we need to do in order to get these breakthroughs? Well, put the past where it belongs, acknowledge what happened and learn from it, and adjust our behaviour. What if I do that and there's a problem in the future? If only someone would tell me the real secret to success. Oh, yes, hang on. I did that a couple of weeks ago in a podcast on the 3-step secret to success, how to realise your dreams. Okay. So, a couple of podcasts you might need to listen to outside of this. And in the show notes on the website, I'll make sure I've got the links over to those podcasts for you. One thing you can do right now is to give this podcast a rating and a review on the website, on iTunes or Stitcher now. Your review and rating will help other people overcome their obstacles of their past and their future. So be greatly blessed. Understand that you can deal with your 2 enemies. And I look forward to hearing your stories of your future great success. Bye-bye. You've been listening to the Leadership Advantage podcast with me, Dr. John Kenworthy. If you'd like to find out more, visit us at celsim.com. It's why some leaders thrive and others struggle.